Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and always a good day when I see across the table here in our studio my longtime, cool, very talented friend, Blair Sadler, an iconic community leader. He's the immediate past board chair for Access Youth Academy. How you doing there, Blair?
Good to see you. I mean, some of these words like long, and it sounds like old, but I am old, so it's great to be here again.
That's right, exactly. Now, Joe, understand I never used the word old.
You did not.
That was Blair who used the word old, even though he is. Anyway, no, it's all good, and Blair certainly has just got a storied history in San Diego of 26, was it 26 years or 27 years?
26.
26 years ran Rady Children's Hospital. And Joe, you are the current board chair for Access Youth Academy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Drew. It's a pleasure to be here.
How long have you been with Academy?
I've been a board member for the past 16 months.
Right. Okay. What got you interested in it?
Prior to being on the board at Access, I had been on another local nonprofit sports board for youth and education here in San Diego, at Youth Tennis San Diego, and I was on that board for 12 years. I was the president of that board for the last 7 years I was on it, and after my time finished there, I spent about 6 months enjoying some free time, and then I ran into Blair, and I thought, he had mentioned Access to me 6 or 7 years earlier, and I thought, this might be an absolutely opportune time for me to get involved with Access, see if there are any opportunities there. So I talked to Blair, and one thing led to another, and a month or two later, I was on the board.
Right, exactly. So this is when they said anybody who's interested in being the board chair and following Blair, take a step forward. And everyone took 2 steps back, and that was you. Is that how that worked?
Sort of. But, I cannot tell you how much I truly believe in the mission of Access and everything that Access does.
Right.
And the impact that it has on transforming the lives of the kids that go through the program at Access is absolutely incredible. I don't think there's anything more worthwhile to be involved with. And so I'm happy to have been the one left standing when Blair stepped back.
No, I think that's terrific. And of course, you talked about, your time with Barnes Tennis Foundation. Do you see a lot of crossover, very similarities between what you did at Barnes and now what's going on at Access?
Sure, there are a lot of similarities in terms of the opportunities for growth, in terms of the impact on kids. As an organization, Access is poised to grow tremendously over the next 5 or 6 years. Youth Tennis San Diego went through the same transformation. I mean, Barnes is doing better than ever and is a national leader in tennis, in youth tennis right now. But I also think that the impact on the kids is the biggest connection between the two. I mean, the tennis at Barnes transforms the programs they have, transform the lives of the kids that start out in their after-school programs. And what they do at Access is absolutely transformative and is very unique in that it not only goes from 7th grade or now 5th grade even through high school, but it sticks with the kids through college and 2 years after that. And it is one of the most transformative programs I've ever heard of in the country. Yeah,
there's no question about the metrics behind that success. Certainly is just off the charts. We're chatting with Joe Sammartino. He is the board chair of Access Youth Academy, joined by his colleague, immediate past board chair, Blair Sadler, Access Youth Academy. Blair, maybe you could just give a nickel tour. Access has been going on for how many years now?
18 years.
18 years. So here you are, and we've had Blair on quite a bit. Everyone knows Blair is, the self-proclaimed best squash player in the world. Currently, is that correct?
Boy, I love that. I wish that were true. But yeah. I did play quite a bit, and it's a great game.
Yeah. So how did that get you involved with Access Youth Academy and squash and academics and STEM and everything in between?
Yeah. So I did discover squash. I had played tennis, similar to Joe, in high school and in college, and
right.
got to Amherst in Massachusetts, other end of the country, and saw these things called squash courts, and I'd never seen them. And the juniors and seniors who were sort of the top players, it was such a fast game. It was fun. It was even like tennis, but it was even more interesting because you could hit the side like racquetball, right, Joe?
Yeah.
And Drew, and so I started trying out. And my twin brother, who I wrote the book with, was also at Amherst. And so we just both took to it. And they let us kind of come in as walk-on, start at the bottom of the ladder and work your way up. Ended up playing varsity squash, which really changed my experience because playing other people, learning about competition, and learning about winning and losing, which I knew a bit about by then. But what's cool about Access Youth Academy was I was then on the U.S. Squash Board much later when I was here in San Diego, and I just retired from Children's, and I had some time, and they were going through asking the question, how can we get this great game that's played by boys and girls, men and women in 135 countries, that's the right number, around the world, and you can really play it for life. There's doubles, just like in tennis. And how do we get that outside of New England and just the Ivy Leagues? And so they had started 5 programs called urban squash programs, Boston, Harlem, Bronx, Philadelphia, Chicago. And I remember getting on a plane, and the idea was, let's take that from just a few programs, let's take it across the country. And I remember getting on a plane, coming back home and talking to some of the locals, the San Diego squash buddies, and they were all in, and we kind of discovered it together and said, well, why don't we try to create one of those programs here? And that's how Access Youth Academy was created. We had 2 things we needed to do. They told us, you need a great leader and you need a great school partner. So we found Renato Paiva, who'll be on your show again next week as our director, executive director from day one. 18 years later, he's still our director, doing amazing stuff, as you know. And the other was, who's our school partner? UCSD Preuss School, which you know well and had them on, was only about 4 years old, and their mission was identical to our mission, working with first-generation college kids, minority kids, underserved kids, and starting in the 7th grade. And so we went over with a squash racket and a ball, which Doris Alvarez and Scott Barton, the principal and vice principal, and they hadn't seen before. But what was cool was they thought they got the connection with sports and learning and growing. So they started programs in lacrosse and in badminton. And, not everyone has to be a 6'6" basketball player, right? So they had an open mind, and we just started. And Renato recruited about 8 kids from 7th and 8 from 8th grade. And there we were. We started. And we were in rented squash courts in Sorrento Valley. And then just the last thing, just to stay with us for a second, was we always dreamed someday, just like Barnes does in tennis, someday Access will have its own facility where it's bigger, we can see more kids from more schools, and we can be located in Southeast San Diego, City Heights, where many of our kids come from. And after a few failed attempts, we ended up getting an acre of land on Euclid Avenue, right there in the heart of Southeast, and built this new facility that opened 3 years ago this month, actually. And it has 8 courts, 5 classrooms, all kinds of community space. And in just the 3 years we've been there, we've gone from working with the Preuss School to 18 partner schools, which is really cool.
No, that's fantastic. We're chatting with Blair Sadler, immediate past chair, board chair of the Access Youth Academy, joined by his colleague, Joe Sammartino, who's the current board chair. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. For 6 decades, these folks have been doing great things for people living in San Diego, County. So, Joe is a great description there, Blair, of the history. It's continuing to expand. You folks, anybody who works with Blair, and of course yourself and Renato as well, looking forward to chatting with him next Saturday, know that you better be with your head on a swivel because you're going to be doing 75 different things and quickly and executing as well. Talk a little bit about this before I want to get to pickleball and the Olympics as well, Joe. But talk about how important it is having those strategic partners.
The strategic partners are, instrumental for Access's success. It wouldn't be possible to do this without the support of so many different partners throughout the community, whether it be the schools, whether it be local businesses, whether it be people on the board. I mean, those strategic partnerships, with U.S. Squash, with the Squash Education Alliance, they're all absolutely crucial for us to have the program that we have today. Now, as you mentioned, Renato is hugely influential in distinguishing Access from all the other urban squash programs.
Right.
I think that Access is uniquely successful because of the way that Blair and Renato have shaped the program, along with other people over the last 18 years, to make the program exactly what it is and to benefit the kids exactly how it does. But without the partnership with the Proy School for the first, I don't know how many years it was the only school, but now that we have 18, those partnerships,
right?
But all of those schools, all of the community partners that we have, everyone that came together to help build the facility, all the board members who are involved, Blair has done a tremendous job of finding people who connect every aspect of life in San Diego, every field, every industry, every sort of connection that could possibly be involved or benefit Access, and people who genuinely care about the kids, because no matter what, it has to be about the kids. And all 20 plus of our board members genuinely care about the kids, and they expand the reach of Access. They expand the connections of Access. Every month, there are new people coming to Access to support the program, to support everything that we do, all because of the kids. They're not there because of me. They're not there because of Blair. They're not there because of Renato. They're there because they care about these kids. And to see that on an ongoing basis, it's because of those incredible partnerships and the people that Blair and Renato and everyone else has connected the organization with.
Yeah, there's no question about it. When we come back from break, I want to get into pickleball and get into the Olympics as well. But I want to start with, and Blair, you can add to this, the metrics behind the success of Access Youth Academy, with how many of these kids who go through it that actually graduate and get accepted to college.
We'll jump on that, by the way, before your break.
Please.
AccessYouthAcademy.org.
Right.
AccessYouthAcademy.org.
You're learning. Very, very good.
You taught me. I'm reading that teleprompter off your left shoulder.
That's exactly right. We're going to be right back with Blair Sadler and Joe Sammartino from Access Youth Academy. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg, Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of the Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. Now, in our 18th year, brought to you by the great folk of Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, just doing great things for people living in San Diego County. Just thrilled to have in the studio with us, making his multiple return appearances, Blair Sadler, immediate Past board chair for Access Youth Academy, joined by his colleague, the current board chair, Joe Sammartino. Joe, before we get into pickleball and the Olympics, Blair, talk about the metrics, your success rate on when these kids graduate. Everyone graduates and everyone gets accepted to college. Is that correct?
That's correct. So we've been going for 18 years,
right?
And we really are in 3 phases. Joe alluded to it, but just the phase 1 is 7th through 12th. Now we've made it 5th through 12th grade. Okay, and there are now 21 of these programs around the country. But what distinguishes us is we have a formal phase 2, which is mentoring the kids through college, and then a phase 3, which is 2 years after that in terms of helping them think through careers and open doors. So that contributes to the success. But bottom line, to answer your question directly, 100% of our kids are graduating from college. Sometimes it's 5 or 6 years, but they're graduating, which is fantastic. $14 million of scholarships. Those aren't money we raise in San Diego. Those are a lot of that money that's supporting the kids is by Renato's connections and now, frankly, the reputation that Access has with different colleges. They know who we are, and we help the kids apply for the right kinds of scholarship funding. So right now, and in our history, we've had graduates attending 29 different colleges and universities around the country, including Columbia, Penn. There are 2 are going to Yale this year for the first time, Princeton, and on the West Coast, Stanford and Berkeley. But of course, right here in hometown, a lot of San Diego State, a lot of UCSD, and Cal State Marcos. I mean, it's been great. So it's the metric is also what they're now doing, and now they're involved in the older kids, who, believe it or not, are 28. It seems like only yesterday. They were a long time ago. They're lawyers. One's at a Harvard Business School, getting a master's. They're doing in science, medicine. It's great to see them. And they come back. We've talked about this on previous shows.
That's right.
They love to come back and give back.
Yeah, there's no question, a true testament to what you were talking about, Joe, about how this program has crafted these students to be not only successful getting through high school, getting accepted to college, graduating from college, and that's the beneficiary of what they've been learning at Access Youth Academy. Joe, talk about pickleball and Access.
So one of the big developments is that Access Youth Academy is expanding officially beyond squash to include pickleball as one of its 2 after-school sports programs. The principles of Access apply not just to squash, but they can apply to almost any sport. There are things that are unique, though, about racket sports. And with the surging popularity of pickleball in the United States, it was a no-brainer for us to say, let's see how many more kids we can get involved, how many more kids' lives we can impact by adding pickleball, because relative to building a squash facility, adding some pickleball courts is a much less expensive proposition, and it allows us to take our mission, our program, to more kids with a very small capital investment and allow those kids to learn the same life lessons, the same life skills, and get the same academic support, all at the same time they get the athletic support and the education on the courts. And so it's going to completely transform the number of kids who are able to benefit from the Access program that's been around for 18 years. And it's going to grow the number of kids in the next 5 years from about 300 kids who are in the after-school squash program to potentially hundreds of kids on a regular annual basis just doing pickleball. So we're very excited. We think that there's a lot of opportunity in pickleball going forward. And so locally in San Diego, that's the next step, is to expand from squash only to squash and pickleball. It also allows the program to expand into high school PE programs and middle school PE programs on campuses. And so that will be another way to get kids in touch with Access, find out about Access, because one of the most amazing things to me in learning about all of the stuff at Access is that the kids want to participate. They want to try out. and they want to come to Access for the squash. When they start to get involved in other ways, it's going to bring even more people to Access.
No, that seems like an absolutely perfect fit. We're chatting with Joe Sammartino. He is the board chair for Access Youth Academy, joined by his colleague Blair Sadler, the immediate past board chair for the Academy. I'm Drew Schlosberg. Listening to an edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast, and our 18th year brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 60 years. Is doing great things in San Diego County Olympics. This is very exciting. Joe, talk about it, and I know you, Blair, you can add something to it as well.
So for the 2028 Olympics, squash is now an official Olympic sport.
Congratulations.
First time.
And Access, because of the facility that Blair was discussing, that he spearheaded to be built down on Euclid Avenue in Southeast San Diego, Access is the premier squash facility in all of Southern California. So not only is the 2028 Olympics being hosted in Los Angeles, right up the road, and all the kids will be inspired by having that right in their backyards, basically.
Right.
But all the teams in the world have already started expressing interest in coming to train at Access because we are the premier facility. So it has a multifaceted benefit. The other thing that happened right before the Olympic announcement was that Access began a slow strategic expansion into the LA market. And Renato has come up with this amazing way it's a pioneering way to teach squash on outdoor racquetball handball courts that only have 3 walls. It doesn't have a back wall.
Right.
And it seems like that expansion just happened to be perfectly timed with what ended up happening with the Olympics in terms of including squash, in terms of it being in Los Angeles, and all these different things coming together that really, we think, are an incredible opportunity for Access to not only increase the number of students, but increase the community awareness of squash, what Access does, and to bring visibility to the program and to the students whose lives are so incredibly benefited from the program at Access.
Absolutely, Blair.
Well, you know, Drew, how much the addition of a fringe sport, let's call it,
100%.
Over the last 2 or 3 decades, whether it's the Winter Olympics or the Summer Olympics, changes the awareness and the profile just overnight. That's what's going to happen to squash. And now that we're coming to the close of the magical Olympics here in Paris,
Right.
Why the World Squash Federation and the Olympic Organizing Committee and the LA Organizing Committee, all of which Renato and we are wired into and part of, is going to be turning its attention to say, we're not going to wait till a year before 2028. We're going to start now. So just think about wind under our sails here, Drew. Huge. I mean, there's going to be all this new energy, new dollars, new focused on awareness, not only to get, as Joe just said, people who are already playing wanted to train here, but introduce the game to many, many more kids. So the possibilities are extraordinary.
Well, it is. And, Blair, I'll start with you, and you could add to it, Joe. Do we know where the venues will be for 2028 for the squash venues?
Here's what we do know. It's interesting. When it's a first-time sport, and this is both an individual sport and a team sport, because, like, for example, in colleges, there are it's 9 members on the team, ranked 1 through 9, and they play 1 through 9 against the other college, right? And each match counts 1 point, so the final score is 5-4 or 9-0.
Right.
Okay? They're not going to be inviting teams, like many things in the Olympics, the first year. At least the current plan is to put up a portable 4-wall glass court. I'm not smoking something here. This is not a new idea. This has been going on for about 15 years. In fact, every year in Grand Central Station, they have this big pro tournament for the best players all around, and they put up this 4-wall glass court. The point is, what they're going to do is, in some very strategic locations to be determined, they'll have one big court with a lot of seating outside it, like bleachers, for the men's, and another for the women's. And it's very much individual. So it'll be the top world-ranked players from Egypt, which is a current leading country, England, Australia, Pakistan, but of course the U.S., and as the host country, we'll get 2 slots. So the actual competition is going to be at an individual level, like fencing or
Right.
whatever. But this is the catalyst to say, how many schools can we get involved in starting these programs that Joe was mentioning? So just stay tuned. It's going to be a wild ride. So to strap in.
Yeah. Well, I think, Joe, you certainly hit the nail on the head on this. Everything you folks are doing, just by the nature of it, is absolutely going to do not only boost the trajectory of it, but add to that largesse how many people can do it with pickleball, with what Renato's doing up in LA, these 3 walls, and there's no back wall. Well, guess what? You just added 80,000 more people that can play and have access to it in this aspect of it.
Drew, let me just jump in on one
Please.
thought. We often talk about this. We've talked a lot about the racket sports and squash. And
That's right.
Now pickleball. But really this is a youth development program. And so a lot of kids, have gone through there, all learn how to play squash. Everyone starts at the same place as beginners. And some become really good college squash players, and it becomes and others don't.
Right.
And some colleges don't have squash. A lot are going to have pickleball. But the point is, it's the discipline, Drew, and it's the teamwork, and it's the sportsmanship that Renato's really a stickler on, and being part of a team and learning to win and learning to lose. These are life skills that are the heart of what makes Access so special.
Right, exactly. Joe, what can our listeners do to help support what you folks are doing at Access?
Well, as a nonprofit, the most important thing always is money.
Right.
I mean, there's no nonprofit that doesn't struggle for funding.
That's
and
right.
as we talk about frequently, the biggest limitation on our ability to impact more kids' lives is a lack of funding. Not that we don't have sufficient funding for what we do, just we can't grow without more, because we do not want to ever lose the success and the impact and the quality of what we do as we grow. So our website is accessyouthacademy.org. You can donate through that. You can learn more about the program, about the facility, about the different individuals who work there, about Renato and everyone else on the team. It's a great way to see highlights of the kids on the court, off the court, and the real benefit and impact of Access.
Well, we're going to look forward to, of course, as Blair alluded to, having Renato back on the show next week, and following this pathways as we lead into 2028. As we all know, I don't speak for myself, the older I get, the faster things happen. I'll blink and it'll be Summer Olympics 2028 in that aspect of it. Joe, why don't you shout out the website one more time?
It's accessyouthacademy.org.
Very, very good. Blair, any final comments?
Just, it's great to be back on the show and
Appreciate it.
Introduce you to Joe directly. He's a real dynamo. We're lucky and delighted to have him take over the reins as board chair. The board, as Joe mentioned earlier in the show, is just amazing. Many have been on the show, like Susan Taylor and Mary Walshak and Jack McCrory, Lori Black, lots of amazing people from Southeast San Diego as well.
Right.
Reese Jarrett. So real community leaders, and every one of those has a ripple effect on everyone else. And so the energy is there. Very involved with parents. We didn't mention that explicitly. It's not the parent support of their child is critical. And just like we've been seeing these stories from Paris about these amazing, where did this kid start? How did they start to learn? Same thing is true in squash. Parental, family involvement, Southeast community involvement, and frankly, having the opportunity to be on the show with you and let people know about this magical program.
It's absolutely our honor. Blair Sadler and Joe Sammartino, I know this will not be the last time I'll have you folks on, especially we gear up for 2028 LA Olympics, but we'll continue to follow this wonderful journey, to say the least. We'll chat with Renato last week, and as always, wishing you nothing but great success moving forward.
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you, Drew.
We've been chatting with Joe Sammartino. He's the board chair for Access Youth Academy, joined by his colleague Blair Sadler, immediate past board chair. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlossberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, down our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, consistently doing great things for San Diegans for more than 6 decades. We hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.